1952 2002 P5 cent Canada coin. Today, we're not just looking at pocket change, we're holding two tiny time capsules that tell a massive story of Canadian history and royal transition. We're diving deep into the fascinating world of the Canadian 5-cent coin, the nickel, specifically focusing on two key dates, the 1952 and the commemorative 2002 P Queen's Golden Jubilee issue. Stick around to learn why these 12-sided treasures are more than just 5 cents. The end of an era, the 1952 Canadian 5-cent. Let's start with the coin that marks an end, the 1952 Canadian 5-cent coin. On the surface, it's a standard circulation coin, but its significance is tied directly to the monarch on its obverse, King George VI. The royal obverse and the wartime composition. The year 1952 was the final year of issue for coins bearing the portrait of King George VI, who passed away in February of that year. This is the last coin to feature his bare-headed effigy, designed by Th. Paget, surrounded by the inscription George of 6 Dei Gratia Rex George VI, by the grace of God, the King. A wartime legacy. Now, the most interesting part of the 1952 nickel is its metallic composition, a direct echo of World War II and the Korean War. You'd think a nickel would be made of nickel, right? Well, not exactly for this one. Due to strong demand for nickel during the Korean War, which forced the suspension of full nickel coinage, the 1952 coin is actually made of chromium and nickel-plated steel. If you hold a magnet to a 1952 nickel, you'll feel a pull, a key identifier of its wartime necessitated composition. A unique design challenge, the switch to steel presented a minting challenge. The existing beaver design was difficult to strike in the new, harder metal, leading the Royal Canadian Mint to introduce a new, lower relief version. However, some of the initial higher relief versions were produced by mistake, creating a subtle, sought-after variety for collectors. The iconic beaver reverse. Flip the coin over, and we see the enduring symbol of Canada, the beaver. This classic design, created by George E. Kruger Gray in 1937, depicts a beaver on a rock-studded mound of earth, a log nearby, dividing the date and the denomination. It's an iconic, 12-sided piece of Canadian identity. Crown Part 2, 50 years later, the 2002 P Golden Jubilee. Fast forward exactly 50 years to the 2002 P Canadian 5-cent coin. This coin doesn't mark the end of a reign, but a grand milestone, the Golden Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. The commemorative markings. The most distinct feature of this coin is the double date on the reverse, 1952 to 2002. This explicit inscription commemorates the 50th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth I's accession to the throne following her father, King George VI, whose last coin was issued in 1952. The P Mint mark. Another crucial detail is the P Mint mark located beneath the Queen's bust on the obverse. This mark signifies that the coin was produced on plated steel blanks, the current composition following the compositional change introduced around 2001. This small p is a modern signpost in Canadian coinage. The Queen's effigy. On the obverse, we see the fourth portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the mature effigy designed by Susanna Blunt. However, an interesting point is that the 2002 coins were actually struck using two different effigies of the Queen, the older, Dora de Pd Hunt mature effigy and the newer Susanna Blunt portrait. For this specific 2002 P variety, we are looking at the Dora de Pd Hunt portrait, which was used on circulation coins before the new effigy was introduced later in the year. Moneybag Part 3. What's the value, rare varieties and collector appeal? So, are these coins worth a fortune? Like most circulation coins, high values are reserved for uncirculated grades or for specific, rare varieties. 1952, a circulated 1952 nickel is generally worth slightly more than face value, perhaps a few dollars. However, that rare high-relief variety or a coin in truly pristine, mint state condition could command significantly higher prices, sometimes reaching into the tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on the grading service and score. 2002p. The 2002p Golden Jubilee coin had a large mintage, meaning it's not particularly rare in circulated condition, and typically sells for a small premium over face value. However, finding one in brilliant uncirculated bulletin condition is a great addition to any collection, and special proof-like versions in collector sets are more valuable. Conclusion: the 1952 and 2002p 5-cent coins are a perfect pair for any numismatist. They bookend a massive 50-year period, representing the dramatic transition from King George VI to Queen Elizabeth II, all while carrying the enduring symbol of the Canadian beaver. They're a reminder that even the smallest piece of change can hold decades of history. If you have either of these in your collection, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of numismatics. Until next time, happy collecting!